Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Midweek program at the J.C. Raulston Arboretum. My name is Blake, and I'm the Education Assistant here at the Arboretum, and today we are on the South Terrace in front of our Prunus Mume bridal veil, which was in full flower before we had an ice storm this past weekend, and, well, that ice storm has knocked a few of those flowers loose, but is the tree dead? Is it okay? Is it gonna live? Hey, these are questions that people don't know the answer to. We all are ignorant of this at some point in our lives. We're not born with a complete knowledge of plants. Like, it's a good question. Is it okay? We're here to discuss that. We got our nursery technician, Sophia McCusker, and our research technician, Evan Villani. They pulled together a whole bunch of plants here that are in various stages of, are they dormant? Are they dead? Well, we're going to explore that today. We're going to talk about what to look for to figure out the answer to that question, to relieve some of your anxieties that you might have about your plants at this time of year. So it should be a really good program. Those of you watching this on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to our channel, and feel free to leave a comment down below. And with the announcements out of the way, I will pass things over to Evan and Sophia to help us understand whether or not these plants are dead or dormant.
Dead or dormant.
It's all about the buds.
It's all about the buds. We came up in this, as I was gathering for this, I kept saying, well, you just got to look at the buds, or you just, it all comes back to the buds.
It all comes down to the buds.
When I suggested this in one of our planning meetings, Mark was like, what do you mean? You're just going to scratch a stick? Like, how are you going to make that a program? And I was like, well, there's a lot. You know, how do you tell if a bulb is dead? I'm constantly, bulbs in the nursery, I'm constantly having problems with, because everybody wants to throw them away because they're like, well, this is dead because it's empty. And you're like, Doug Ruin, he taught me this. You got to dump it over and ask if anybody's home. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to tell if you have a dead plant or a dormant plant. And we have some pretty sweet stuff from the garden. We got some good examples.
Before that, I think I want to cover three things.
Oh, that's
the
right.
first question I have is, so I'm kind of the test dummy in this, so I'll be asking some questions because I truly am ignorant in comparison to Sophia. I think this also came about because I kept almost throwing away things that were not dead, and you kept asking, well, Evan, is it dead or dormant? And
Yeah,
I think I said, I don't know enough times that you're like, we gotta tell people.
Come on, we got to get it together, dude.
Yeah, seriously. So first off, what is dormancy?
What is you want me to give a definition? It
Well,
is
like roughly.
So if you think about your deciduous plants, it's basically plants preserving energy. They're actually pulling, with deciduous things, they're actually pulling the sap out of their leaves and back into their root system to store that so that they can survive until winter. And then with evergreen stuff, it's a little bit different because you don't see that visible shedding of leaves. So it's when they have stopped growing for the season. So they'll kind of stop and take that rest period. And then there's a whole variety of other things, because then you can get into perennials, you can get into bulbs, you can get into cactus. But basically it's it's a plant's conserving energy. So whether it's drought or cold,
Taking a nap.
taking a
Nice.
rest in a time of hardship.
Right. And then you mentioned perennials, and I think this is a good opportunity to just speak a little bit about the different life cycles of plants.
Right.
So we here at the Arboretum, our focus is woodies, and woodies are a subset of perennials which keep an above ground structure through the winter. Wood, lignified tissue.
Woodies specifically.
Woodies specifically.
Right. Not perennials.
Right. And then the rest of perennials, there's a bunch of different ones, some of which we'll be going over today, that have different structures. And herbaceous perennials are the opposite. Those are the ones that will not keep a structure up through winter.
Necessarily.
Oh, not a woody structure. Yeah. Getting too into the weeds already.
Well, that's what comes back to our other saying for today is it depends. That's my workshop saying
It
too.
depends.
There's so many variables and we have the weirdest stuff that breaks all the rules. So, well, when I try to say an absolute and then I'm like, well, there's that one.
Yep.
Well, there's that one exception.
And the other thing that kind of depends is, we'll touch a little bit here on, is hardiness. And so it's like a plant might be able to survive here and grow here, but it might act differently than it would in its normal range. So some things that form woody trees in their native ranges, like, for example, in South America, Erythrina crystalgalli, the coral flowered plant, forms a 20-foot tree, and here it'll get 6 feet tall each year and then die back to the ground. Who do we have here? Are you showing us?
This is an arista? Agarista?
It was an agarista.
It was an agarista.
It was not.
It was not?
No, oh, man.
I should have written down the
Is
name.
that Agathis robusta?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Blake.
Thank you, Blake.
You're welcome.
This is one that we're trying to see if it'll survive here. So obviously it's got some cold damage. We expected that. And I took this branch off, but we did leave most of the branches because I believe in its native territory, it will grow to be a big tree.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's from like Australia, New Zealand, that kind of place. We just had a program with Brie Arthur last week where she mentioned that tree specifically. It gets big. It's a big honking tree, and around these parts it doesn't grow quite that fast, but is it hanging on?
Well, I know. So in the nursery, it grows relatively fast. This was already like 6 feet tall. I don't know how long we've had it, but it's big. Where it comes from, it would just grow bigger.
Yeah.
But here, it's likely going to die to the ground every few years when we have a harsh winter. So it might overwinter for if we have a mild winter, but if we have a harsh winter, like 12 degrees at night, that's not the standard for us. So it's going to get sad and look like this, and you can see it's starting to. I suspect that this would have died because it's still green, which is something we're going to talk about, but it's starting to shrivel, which means
it's dead, but it doesn't know it yet.
yeah,
it's dying.
it's starting to desiccate. There's another one of those words I like.
Ooh, great word.
It's starting to
lose moisture.
lose those
that
moisture. Yeah. So it's one of those ones that'll trick us because it's still green. So you could be like, well, it's still alive because that's one of the rules. Is if you nick a plant or a branch, the scratch test. So that'll bring us to our cornice. This has a couple of really good examples for it. So I'll show you the live one first. So the one thing that I look for when I'm in the nursery is that pliability. As branches and plants dry out, they will snap. They'll shrivel and snap. Whereas a live branch is going to bend. You're going to have some flexibility. And then the next thing, we go back to the buds, which these you can see, this is a flower bud. This is a leaf bud. And it's ready. Like you can tell that's alive. It's got the pliability. It's not dried out.
It's excited.
It's so ready for spring. Do you see those flower buds? It's so hype. Whereas I asked Tim if he had an example of this because he mentioned this, and I was like, that's a great thing to talk about, is leaf abscission.
So abscise is to drop its leaves.
Right. So when a tree in the fall, that's what it's doing. It's creating basically a scab over where the leaf would be, and then the leaf falls off. Well, when a tree is dead or when a branch is dead, it doesn't make those leaf abscissions. So it will hold its leaves. And they're dead. They're not alive. You can see the buds. There are no flower buds on here.
Nope. Nobody's excited. Nobody's home.
No pliability. Like I could break this thing into a million pieces.
No kidding. And that just snapped like that easily.
Yeah. So like comparing, it's.
Yeah.
So we mentioned the scratch test a few times, which I suspect most people know what this is.
For those who don't, could you explain what it is?
Yep. So you are lifting the base layer of the bark. So you're lifting the bark off, or scraping the bark off, and you want to see that cambium. That cambium should be green. If it is not green, it is probably dead. But you don't want to go too deep. You're not going to kill the plant, but if you go deep, you don't want to wound the plant. So that's not my preferred method, especially like in the nursery. I don't want to go around cutting my little plants. So I definitely go to that as a last-ditch effort. Like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is not a goner.
Fine for bigger things, plants in the garden. But if it's really small, a wound like that is like,
it's not going to kill it, but why make a wound? That's like,
what'd you say?
I was joking with Evan. Like, he said, "Well, I'm supple, so I must be dead." And I was like, "Well, let's cut you and find out." It doesn't make sense. So that brings up a
different point of abscission here. So we don't want to say that all trees that are holding dead leaves in winter are dead, because there's a couple key examples that we can think of that are still alive, but will still hold on to their leaves. So what we're looking at here is a hemamelis. And so it's clearly alive because if you can see, there's these flower buds on it, which are about to pop with their yellow flowers and look fabulous.
And it's got nice, pretty buds.
Nice, pretty buds.
Ready to go.
And it's all about the buds, really.
It's really all about the buds.
I think you've been saying that the whole time.
Yep. What I've been saying the whole time.
And another example we can think of for this is the beech. So our American beech is that nice kind of orange look of those holding the dead leaves through the woodland forest, really nice. And then you want to talk about the cone of juvenility a bit?
Yeah, so the cone of juvenility is plants are weird, and they're and I thought this when I first started learning about plants too, is you would think that the juvenile stage is up here, right? The juvenile stage is the newest growth. In my brain, that's how that would work. But in reality, in woody plants, it is from the base down. So you can see that this is mature, and then this is that cone of juvenility. So like Evan mentioned with the with our I'm blanking, the beech, you'll notice that where it's holding the leaves on the more immature wood material, and then the mature material, that leaf abscission happens.
Yeah, so it's only up to about like 10 feet-ish. You'll see them hold the leaves, and then all the branching past that is mature. So even though, like Sophia is saying, this is it's less old in terms of chronological time, it's chemically mature. So something in the plant, when it reaches a certain point past the base, the trunk where it's growing, once it is far enough away from that, it says, okay, I'm mature now. And
I can lose my leaves. I don't need my training wheels anymore.
Exactly.
You'll see this in oaks. Mm-hmm. Some oaks will do this.
Juniper is a very clear one, totally different leaf morphology. So you might see like a spiky ball of a juniper, and then when it gets to a certain height, totally different foliage. Some plants use defense mechanisms in their first couple feet of growth that nothing gets chewed on, natural protection from herbivores.
So I grabbed this just to compare it so you can see that the leaves are dead all the way to the tips. Whereas on the hemamelis, it's a very distinct line. And it looks kind of like a cone.
Oh, the cone of juvenility.
The cone of juvenility. You brought up junipers.
That's
which
close
brings
enough.
me to conifers. So you might think, I have a conifer and it's turning brown. Oh no, it's dead. What will we do? I've had this plant since 2022. And this is how big it's gotten.
Super duper fast growing.
So that kind of goes back to the dormancy thing and the cold. I feel like it's cold. I didn't actually look up what the chemical process was, but some conifers bronze like this. And again, if you come in and feel it, it's got that little bit of pliability. If you look under those, are they scales? I'm bad with my terminology.
It's more all-shaped growth, but
needle owls.
Yeah. So those are bright green underneath, which means it's doing it. It's killing it. It's got new growth. So you might see browning in a conifer and be like, oh no, but as long as those boxes are checked, it's probably okay. Another good thing to check with is like a pull test. So especially in planted in container plants, if you pull on it gently, like you're checking for cuttings for roots, if it doesn't have give, it means it's got some good roots. Whereas sometimes I'll be looking at something and be like, I don't know about this one. Then I go to pull it up and it comes out and it's a stick with, roots this big. So that goes back to so you can see the roots are all the way to the edge. Probably could use a potting up.
We could talk about roots real quick, actually.
We can talk about roots.
So these are nice and alive and colorful. Oftentimes you'll see a white-tipped root. That's an actively growing root, but there's a bunch of different colors. That's and even that scratch test that we did, a couple plants will have a different color cambium, but it still looks wet and alive.
Berberis is yellow.
Yeah.
Their roots are bright yellow. It's weird.
Yeah, there's one that's like orange.
But you can see the older roots are brown. The newer roots are white. They're healthy. They're looking for nutrients and water.
Yeah. They're active.
They're so active.
As opposed to if this was dead, it would all be black or brown, and you could probably smell that kind of like organic decaying smell. And if you'd feel the roots, they might crumble or strip or squish a lot.
Well, don't give all my secrets away.
We're not there yet.
So I just brought an example of a conifer that is no longer with us. This branch.
So this is a cupressus that we need to take out of the conifer garden. The whole thing just up and is toast. And we don't know exactly why. It's toast now. And so it still looks greenish. It's fading to white. You can see these still might look a little bit green here, But yeah, as you saw, Sophia, it just snaps.
It's like your Christmas
no
tree
life.
that's still up in February.
Yeah, it's a fire hazard at this point. You need to. I know we like the Christmas tree, but
This is just another good example of
is
how
it
you
dead
would see it.
or is it dormant?
Or is it angry?
Mm.
The answer is yes. I don't think this one's going to make it. I don't think it's happy with the cold. So I went to grab it because I was looking for something dead in the nursery, and I've thrown away all the dead things. So I saw this branch and I was like, oh, it's dead, like perfect. And then when I pulled it out, I saw this branch, which I'll show you what makes me think this might not be long for this world. So this is supposed to be a
Evergreen cornice.
evergreen cornice.
Mm.
And you can see it has gotten angry at the cold.
Mm-hmm.
That bud is still technically alive. But if you come up here to this one, these tips of these branches are dead.
Mm-hmm.
You can see because they're brown and kind of soft. I feel like that's a good telltale. That's a sign for the cold damage. Is it's usually once it thaws out, it's usually like soft and gummy. It looks like it feels like something you left in the fridge too long. It's like a sad piece of celery.
Got freezer burn real bad.
Yeah.
Just wasn't ready.
That,
And then especially, I mean, in the garden here, we can compare this to a different member of the same species that is the purple leaves and still holding its leaves very nicely. And then we look at this guy and we're like, yeah, you're sad. I'm sorry.
Maybe you'll make it.
Maybe.
We'll see. We've
So,
got one in
yeah.
the garden and it looks about the same. So
But that raises an interesting point that you might have localized death on a woody plant where just certain branches die, but the whole thing is still alive. It can sprout back from different places. But
Yep.
it's also good. Another point I want to make is it's also good to kind of know what you're working with. Like, what should it look like? I'll cut off the dead and put it back in the nursery because I actually might put it in a house where it gets a little bit more protection from this week's cold.
Right.
And see, because it still has buds, it still might come back.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Gail was asking, would you just cut those parts off? And you're saying you would. When would you do that?
I would cut this off, but I probably wouldn't go through and cut all the dead tips off quite yet.
Okay.
But that's also a personal preference.
Okay.
Yeah. Our strategy, and Alexander was bringing this up with a camellia before, that he said went almost 2 years of dormancy, is sometimes if it seems like it might be alive, and it's facing cold damage, you can leave it and see if it flushes. Is this a safest bet? You could even sometimes, not in a structure like this where this is completely dead, in which case, yes, we would just cut this.
I'll cut this off before I put it away.
But if there's dead mixed into here, you might not want to damage this too much if you want to give it a shot.
Yeah.
So wait till spring.
Yeah.
Let it be. Let it look a little ugly for a time and see if it reflushes.
I was reading one of the resources Blake sent me about when the Texas got a really bad chill.
Sure.
And my main takeaway from that was wait until things reflush. Because if it's hardy, it will probably come back if it's facing cold damage.
Right.
But I wouldn't go through and cut all the tips off because I want it to flush.
Yeah. And plants, they compartmentalize their wounds, and it might, which basically it kills off part of the stem in just that local place, and it dies back to the stem. It might continue die until it's like, I've died enough, I can sprout back from here. So you might be interrupting that natural process. So it's best to just wait for it to sort itself out, and then it sprouts back from where it wants to sprout back from, and then you can clean it up from there.
Yeah. So.
Or they might just fall off. Like those tips, I expect those tips to dry out and just fall off.
Yeah, absolutely.
To Blake's point, you don't want to do predictive pruning because there's internal things going on that you can't see for that case. But once it's an active growth and you can clearly decipher what is alive and what is dead, then that's your opportunity to go in and clean out the dead.
There you go.
Okay.
So this brings me to
all the way back to
salvia. That was a long
Good times. Good times.
That was a long tangent. So I pulled this out and I realized after I cut it that it is just labeled salvia with a number. Anyway, this is a herbaceous salvia. It dies to the ground, or it doesn't die to the ground. It goes dormant. So it is a good example of a perennial that goes dormant. So I asked Alexander because he was like, well, what's that? And I was like, what do you think? And he was like, well, that particular piece is dead, which is correct. So it has pulled its resources back into the ground and said, "You have served me well, goodbye." And we have not cut it back yet because for a myriad of reasons. You know, it's good to leave things up for pollinator homes. If you cut your stuff back too soon, you might be taking away food that could be valuable to wildlife.
And it also may or may not be insulation for the plant itself
Yeah.
to help it get through the winter.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And its structure in the garden oftentimes too. So just wait
winter
until
structure.
it's about to leaf back out in late winter, early spring, and then that's your opportunity to go in and clean up.
Yeah. So, and I want to talk about kind of how to look at perennials. We've talked a lot about woodies. So how do we look at perennials and how do we know if they're alive? I like my world in pots over here. It's easy.
No kidding.
But I love looking at little buds because it's a sign of what's going to come. So if you peel that back, I don't suggest doing this in your garden unless you must know. And if you do it, just tuck it back in. But
so what are you doing exactly, Sophia?
I am pulling back. So this has a little bit, I would call it, it's like a little bit woody, but you can see the root system starting here. You can see these buds.
Sure.
So for next year's
Leave the
growth,
sun on it. Yeah.
they're already there and ready to go. So even if you've got some root dieback on the outside, like this might be a little mad because it was in our unheated poly house. This is a Salvia glaabrescens.
Okay.
And it got down to 12 degrees this winter, so it might be a little mad, but those buds are still there. So I will not lose hope on it until those buds aren't there. Even though you can tell it's maybe not the best, like I could clean this up and repot it. The roots actually don't look good. This is a great example. The roots do not look great. You don't see any white tips there. They're kind of all yellow, and when I pull on them, they just kind of pull apart. But I won't give it up on it yet because it's got the buds.
It's got the buds.
But it's a good example of what you're looking for dormancy versus dead.
Now, is it the same story here with this hosta?
With this hosta, it kind of is. This is, here's a tag.
Thank you. Can't forget the tag.
Yeah, so hostas are an easy one. They're super hardy. Like they're hardy to zone 3. That's kind of how I decide what goes into a heated house versus a non-heated house, because heated space is precious. So if it's a hosta's hardy to zone 3, like I don't even know what the low is in zone 3, but it'll be okay.
-30.
It'll be fine. And then you have to like wrestle it out. Okay, maybe we won't. You can see, look, you can look at the bottom of the pot. See those great, nice white roots in there?
I mean, that's a good tip. If you've got a plant in a pot, they do sometimes peek out of the drainage holes. You can certainly lose all the top growth, but if you've got living roots poking out the bottom, then hey, that's an indication that the thing's still alive, for sure.
Yeah.
And did you already...
Well, and then you can...
just test the firmness.
Yeah.
By
The
poking
squish
at the
factor.
crown.
Okay.
The squish factor.
That is
Squish
the
factor.
scientific term, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't see
We studied
buds.
for this.
I don't have a good example of a bud here, and I don't want to disturb it too much because it's going to go back into that unheated house and be in the cold this weekend. But what Evan was saying is it squishy? And this is nice and firm.
Can I talk about why it's squishy? Would you like to
why
talk
it's
about
not
why it's
squishy?
squishy?
We have another example of why it's squishy.
Okay.
Unless you have a thought on why it would be squishy.
Well, I would like to explain the physiology of why it's squishy.
Please.
Okay, so when a plant freezes, the cells have water in them. When it gets a certain level of cold, that water inside the cell freezes, and it makes little ice crystals that literally poke through the cell membrane and cause it to leak out. And then it leaks out, and you've got a cell that had water in it that no longer has water in it. Now it's a dead cell. That's why it's squishy. Like on a cellular level, they are literally poking little holes in themselves with the ice crystals.
That I have seen pictures of. There are some annuals that will actually split.
Sure.
You can actually see the cell. You can actually see the stem splitting and the plant material, like the insides coming out.
Sure.
Because ice expands.
That's right. But so that's why it's squishy, because there was a bunch of water in this cell, and now the cell's no longer turgid, which is another of my favorite botanicals.
Such a good word.
Love the turgidity of cells.
No longer firm.
This is our test, Evan.
What's the test here? What are we doing?
This is a cyclamen. Is it dead or dormant?
This is a cyclamen, huh?
Uh-huh.
Well, it's squishy, which leads me to say this is dead.
Okay.
This is the squish factor that just gives me that
Ooh.
just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I hate
yeah.
it so much. I can deal with spiders. I can deal with snakes. That makes me want to vomit.
All right, so here we have some daffodil bulbs and camassia bulb.
So we have been furiously planting. I meant to grab some
Live ones.
good ones because we've been planting bulbs, so all of the good ones are already in the ground.
It's true, yeah.
But this is a daffodil that is not healthy. You can see that it is desiccated. A healthy daffodil would have a nice little sprout right there, ready to come up for the winter. It would have some sort of it's a very specific sound that bulbs make in bags. It's so weird.
Because they're so light and
they're like light and it's like this little crispy sound. But these are unfortunately
a little bit like dried grass in the wind.
Yeah.
That's very poetic.
Yeah.
Thanks. I read Catcher in the Rye.
That's another but you can see like it's dead or it's brown. It's not necessarily soft. You can see some fungus growing there. You can see some. There's no sign of life.
It feels hollow. It feels light. Things have eaten into it.
It's not as plump as other ones.
Don't bother digging a hole and planting this because you will only grow disappointments.
But you can see it's brown. Like these are in this. I don't know how closely they're related to onions, but they have the layers just like an onion would when you cut it open. So. A fresh one should look like an onion from the store, where you cut it open and you've got those layers of nice, plump, juicy flesh. I don't know. This is a plant that I am not familiar with. It's one that we got recently, but it looked so happy. But you can see the top is gone. It's gone dormant. It's been in, again, those unheated houses.
Make some space.
And this goes back to Doug's teachings of, you got to knock and ask if it's home. Because this is a giveaway because it's got the white coming out the bottom, so you can tell it's happy. And there, look at those white roots. And then look at that nice little bud. Ready to go. So this is another little underground structure. Those are called geophytes. There's a broad term for any of these things that have an underground structure that stores energy for the plant. Don't ask me anything else about it because I don't know.
How about this hedychium?
I love a hedychium. This is kind of like your ginger when it's in the same family. So you go to the store and buy your ginger and it resembles something like this. Tim was
ripping out of the geophyte board to make space.
Yep, he was cleaning up. So again, you're looking for that squishiness to see if it's dormant. Now, some of these, what'll happen with these is that you will get pieces that will die back. So like just like with iris, you might get a spot that is kind of hollow and gross looking. And like with irises, sometimes you want to thin them out, depending on what they are. But you can see that there are those buds ready to push out once it gets warm enough again. Okay. So there's last year's growth coming up. These have been in the staff building for 2 or 3 weeks. We need to pot them up. But there are those new buds ready to come up, and then it's got all this stored energy back here, and it's ready to go. It's ready for next year. It's ready for the plant cart.
I think that's a good opportunity to talk about what else is happening during dormancy, which is not a lot. So they've been sitting in the staff building for 2 or 3 weeks, just like this. And it's fine.
No soil, no nothing. Just out and about.
It's probably not ideal.
It's not ideal.
They probably want to be moist.
Right.
But it's fun. It's fun figuring out the things that will take the abuse.
Yeah, and it emphasizes the fact that metabolism has drastically slowed down, and the plant is in a position where it's like kind of holding itself together. It's dormant.
Well, and actually that also brings up a good visual of that pulling your resources out. So this plant, you can see it it's desiccated, and all of those juices have gone down into the.
Yeah.
It's pulled it down and gotten ready for winter.
Just makes you want to eat sweet potato.
And it may not actually want to be moist around this time of year particularly. A lot of plants struggle with winter moisture, and if it's too moist for them, then they will die. I took a Hadicium home 2 years ago, I guess, from the plant sale. It didn't overwinter properly because I loved it too much and kept it too wet. It just rotted out. And, and
so that goes back to knowing what you want, like knowing what your plant material wants and what you're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. Because there are certainly bulbs that you can store over winter completely out of soil just in a brown paper bag, and that's what they prefer.
Amorphophallus right now, I have 3 of my little pots with just peat moss.
Yeah.
And they're dry peat moss in my office. So they're a little bit warm, but they're a little too small to go in the ground yet. So I've got them stored in there dry, and that's what they prefer. If I left them in the nursery, they would rot out. They would be like that cyclamen, except for different reasons. This I pulled because it's kind of an example of, like I was saying about the iris, where this is a syningia, but it's a similar thing where this piece, so this edge used to be a round, picture a round, is it a quorum? I can't remember with the syningia, but this part used to be
tuber,
fleshy, and but it has kind of dried out. That's kind of what irises do when they're ready to be thinned, and they pull those resources out and then move along. So nothing to worry about. I might pot this up. We'll see. But I also have this material that's really nice. The buds on this is where, well, if it's a tuber, it's like a potato.
Yeah.
So there are eyes. So I would put this in a pot and see what happens. But you can see it's got roots. It's alive. Let's cut it in half and see what happens. This one is a little, again, has been sitting in our office. But you can see that. Look at all that stored energy. So this has a little bit of squish to it, but it's definitely not that, like, it's a live squish, not dead squish. It's very technical. I've heard through various stages of my career, I don't like cool season grass because it looks dead. Or are these dead? They look dead. And to me, this doesn't look dead. And I don't know how to describe it, but like, yes, technically this part is dead. This part on top is technically dead, but there's a difference in color from when this is gone dormant. So yes, this is not going to reflush. It is technically dead, but it looks different to me. Okay. And I always have a hard time with my words explaining why.
Is it the way it's being held? Is it more upright?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
I guess that's it.
Is part of it also like the color?
Yeah, the color is a little bit different. So it's really nuanced.
Okay. Well, so like if a plant goes dormant of its own volition, then it's like a process that takes place over a certain amount of time, whereas like death from a cold snap is like instantaneous. So if it's going dormant of its own volition, it's able to take nutrients from its stems and bring them down into the roots, do all that translocation and all that good stuff. If it's just getting zapped by cold, it doesn't have time to do all that translocation. So you're not getting to see, there's like a vitality and vigor that is exuding from that plant.
Yeah, like this is alive. This has been in this size pot in an unheated house.
For how long? It's been a while.
Since the fall plant sale.
Since fall plant sale.
But you can see, I was actually curious if this one was going to make it. This is hardy to zone 4, so I was like, it's probably fine. But you can see those buds are coming out. Buds. So this is not dead. And then I was noticing as I was getting ready for this program, I was looking at, it was probably Bermuda or Zoysia, because that's another one where people are like, I don't like it because it looks dead. But it looks, in spots where it dies, it looks very different, and it's not offensive to me. This one was a little bit more obvious. You can see this is still got some green on it. Pretty happy. Just a little carex doing its little carex things, waiting for me to pot it up so that it can grow out. But you can see that green there, so it's ready to go for spring, even though it's been in this pot since the fall. And
a lot of your grasses and grass-like plants that are evergreen will kind of, when it's cold, it's been cold and dry, it'll take on a lot of that browning, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll just let it go all the way through spring, and then once it's about to actively grow again, that's your chance to
Give it a little haircut.
give it a little haircut, clean it up, because it's about to push against a bunch of new green.
That actually brings me to this, which is it's another Carex, but it's a brown-leafed one, which is weird. But
Weird
you can
stuff.
see again, there's a rule. I have something that breaks every single rule, I swear. You can see like there's little bits where it's dried out, but that's what it's supposed to look.
It's fabulous.
It is nice, honestly.
I can't get him to plant it. Evan, you need to plant it.
I'm sorry, okay, I'll do it.
So long. It's been here since 2020, guys.
I think probably I passed in the nursery. I'm like, that's a dead carrot.
It's
And I
not
move
dead,
on.
guys. It's not dead. See, this is where Evan.
This is why this is a good lesson for me.
This is why I'm here to play this game with Evan. That brings me to
Cutting.
This is a question I always get in propagation. How do I tell when my cuttings are dead?
It's all
I've been
about
waiting for weeks and weeks, and it feels like years. But are my plants dead? This is it's an African blue basil is what it's called.
Yeah.
It smells really nice. It's an annual, yeah, it's an annual that I like to overwinter because it's super great for pollinators. But I had some dry spots in my growing space. So I have a completely dead cell. So this cutting rooted, was doing its thing. It dried out, and now it is dead. And one thing that is important with cuttings is noting where your bud is, because there are certain things that it can have a live root system, but if they don't have a bud or a meristeme, you just have a root system, which is so weird.
And then when it
It's
dies
almost
back,
it's like zombies.
absolutely.
It's like plant zombies.
Absolutely. But if there's no bud down there, when it dies back, there's nothing for it to sprout back from. So even though it's alive, it's not for long.
So I think it's the hibiscus coccineus. They're one that's notorious for coming back. They sprout late, and I've gotten a couple rounds from nurseries that they look great. They're beautiful plants. They've got beautiful root systems.
Yeah.
But they never sprout up because they don't have any buds. So buds come into play. This is, next to the one that got too dry, and you can see that there are some little buds because this is a mint and you can abuse the mess out of it. So that one, it's not ideal. It's not going to work for everything, but for this, I'll pot it up and it will be great. And then for comparison, this is a nice one that got healthy and needs to be potted up, but I need more space because this wants to be super warm, so it'll just have to chill. But knowing where those buds are on your plant material is super important. Which brings me to some of our woody cuttings, which can be super tricky. They take a lot of time. They can sit there and look mad, and then you're like, was anything going to happen? I don't know. This is one that we had one really good batch that took and rooted really well. And we have not been able to reproduce it.
Jeez.
So this one is a good one because it rooted, but it probably got dry. It does not have a bud. You can see each bud, or each little node, no bud. Down here, you can see all those roots coming out. I saved this specifically to show y'all. And then this boy, or girl,
or both at the
whatever.
same time, honestly.
Or whatever it is. You can see that nice, pretty bud ready to go, ready for the next season. See those white roots? It's pretty. It's holding its little shape of medial. We're going to pot it up. It's going to be great. This was an example. So that was dry out. This may have been drought. It may have been a little too wet. It may have, who knows, any myriad of things with propagation. This is our two osmanthus cuttings. This one got dry. I don't know if it hadn't rooted yet, and it would have rooted. If it hadn't gotten dry, we will never know. This one rooted. It needs a little bit more time to grow. But rooted, not rooted, dead. You can tell even with all of these things, you can it just breaks. This still has that pliability.
Sure.
The leaves aren't dehydrated.
Right.
This is a good one for Evan, who said we were walking through the South America garden and he was like,
Maybe it has a chance.
Maybe it has a chance. And then I reached down and just lifted it, and the whole thing came out.
Oh.
So this is a good example of that cold damage. It looks okay.
Yeah.
We probably could have left it and let it.
But it probably still.
But it likely
Yeah,
it's dead. Like the
it's dead.
damage is done. It is dead. I have a really nice example of that in an agave, but I left it in the nursery. So
Yeah, it gets
now I'll
really-
go throw it away. It's very gunky. It's got that mush of the
cells
bulbs.
exploded.
Yeah, the
Yep,
cells
yep.
exploded. It's great.
And if you look at it, the way that the top has been completely severed from the roots when you pulled it out, like that's mushiness right there through and through.
I'll be interested because this did have some little pups coming up next to it,
Ah.
and I didn't mess with those. So
No kidding.
it might have a root system underground, and the pups might be okay. We'll
Yeah.
have to see.
It'd be interesting to see something like that planted in sort of the same spot, but with more drainage so that it doesn't have the moisture around the roots, because that might be the thing that killed it. Not so much the cold, but the wet and the
Right.
cold together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know where we are for time.
So
I've been talking for so long.
it is 52. I want to review really quickly.
Go
walk through
for
some
it.
hypotheticals.
Yeah.
And then we might take. Are there any questions?
There is a question, and there might be more by the time we get to them. So
Okay. So, dead versus dormant. What are you going to do when you see a woody in the garden and you think it might be dead? You're going to test the pliability of it. You're going to look at those leaves and those buds. If those buds are excited and ready to go, your plant is still alive. And if neither of those two things give you information, if it kind of breaks and you think it's dead, and if those buds look dry and not excited to be here, then you can scratch it. And if you don't see that green cambium, you can consider that dead.
If you do see the green cambium, maybe give it a chance.
Leave it. Right. If you think there's any chance that it's alive, leave it through the winter until it should be flushing again. And if you see some of that active growth, that's your opportunity to cut the stuff you know is dead out. And then for plants that go dormant in the winter all the way back to the ground, or for things in pots that you'd like to plant, but you're not sure if they're alive or dead and you don't want to waste your time, those tests of taking it out of the pot and looking at the roots, seeing if there's any color, any growing in the roots, or if it's that rotting smell, in which case it's dead, probably.
Or the squish.
And then the squish test. If you just want to poke at the top or find that bulb in the pot and test if it's still firm, that is probably still alive, and you should still go ahead and plant that. So you didn't waste your money quite yet. I did have a couple fun facts I wanted to maybe talk about.
let's go, Evan.
Let's go. What are your fun facts?
We're ready to have some fun with some facts.
Ooh, fun fact. We didn't talk about winter dormancy.
Yes, thank you. So winter dormancy versus, you mean summer dormancy?
Oh, yeah, summer.
So
Yeah, that one.
I wanted to talk about,
The
again,
opposite of the normal thing.
why do plants go dormant is generally to avoid a stress. So we honestly think of it mostly in terms of winter, because the most common stress is cold here. But in other places, the biggest thing is drought. So there are plants that, when it rains, they come alive from dormancy. That water is what sends the signal for it to grow actively. It'll put out leaves for as long as that there's water available, and then once it dries up, it's gone again, maybe for the whole year, maybe for half a year. It goes back into its period of dormancy. For things that are
Some things
super
are-
heat stressed, so that's some bulbs and even some trees, like we have an Aeschylus californica, which goes summer dormant. So that's an important thing to know. If you work here in the garden and you look at a tree in the middle of summer, it doesn't have leaves, you ask Tim if you can go cut it down. He says, heck no. It's very much alive, very rare, and very important. And then for bulbs, things that go summer dormant are like daffodils and galanthus and so many other ones that now are popping up and are winter active.
Yes.
They're getting light while things above them have shed their leaves in the canopy. And now they are growing happily and can be super nice things to fill your garden in. And then you're not going to see them at all in summer. But that doesn't mean that they're not there. They're just resting.
They're just doing their thing until everything else on top goes down, and then they can be like, I'll take the light.
Yeah, and then the last thing I wanted to say is plants are doing a lot of this through hormones, which is really cool, and we get super into that, but we won't because we're out of time. But they have a very complex system
Maybe we'll have to do a program. You should let us know
hormones?
if you're interested in plant hormones.
Yeah, for sure. It's very cool, and they produce a lot of proteins like antifreeze proteins, et cetera, even.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's get into some questions. Okay, Sandy wants to know, what temperature are your prop and greenhouses at? And can you offer any guidance for plants that are outside with the snow forecast for this weekend?
So I can take the outside real quick, which is mostly we don't do anything.
Okay.
We just let plants take it. Our job here is to trial them, see how they do in North Carolina with minimal input. And that, honestly, I mean, it's a cold winter for us. But
Now, if they're in containers, you could throw a sheet over them, or like I just put stuff against my, like if I've got stuff that I'm worried about, I'll put it up against my house.
Yep.
So it gets that kind of keeps it a little warm, protects it from the wind. You could store it under, like, again, in pots. You could store it like in a garage or in a crawl space, or even inside, depending on what it is.
But if it's in the ground, for us, it's in the ground.
Yeah, it's in the ground.
It's being tested.
Yeah, just let it. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. We get ice. It's sporadic, but these snow and ice events are part of our normal. They happen every few years, and we see what doesn't do well.
It's still North Carolina.
It's still North Carolina.
Yep.
As far as my temperature in my greenhouses, I believe that the house where I do most of the propagation is at 55.
Okay.
Is the low, or 65 might be the low.
Okay.
And then the high is probably like 80.
Sure.
And then my other houses, it depends on what my goals are. Like if I want to keep stuff actively growing, it's my low is either 55 to 65 for the low, and then I let it get as warm as it'll get.
But some plants want to go dormant. They need that resting period.
Yes.
And so you let those.
Yeah. So then I've got a few houses. Like I said, I've got one house that's not heated, and that actually stays really pretty warm.
Nice and comfortable.
Because I don't have fans, so it doesn't have electricity, so I don't have fans moving in the air.
Yeah.
But then I also have two spaces where I want things to go dormant in there, so that's where I put my cornice cuttings that I don't want to pot up yet because I'm waiting for them to push in the spring. But they need the dormancy, so I'll put them in there. I'll put this Miliodendron in that house as well. And I try to keep it below at just about freezing because I want them to go dormant, so I want some cool. And then I try to keep it below 80, which, like, if we have a day that's 70, we turn the fan on and push air through. It would be better if it could be a little cooler, but we can only do the best we can.
Yeah, and unheated greenhouses are surprisingly effective at even the coldest temperatures.
So in the unheated, like, we almost need a cooling effect because in the unheated houses, I was having stuff not go dormant.
Sure, yeah.
So I would put it down there to try to make it go dormant. And, if it's 55 out, you can easily add 10 degrees. If the sun is out, you can add more. So if it's a 50-degree day, it can easily be 70.
No kidding.
And then it buffers you about 10 degrees with whatever the outside temperature is.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Sandy says that she's covered some bushes with fabric. She says with constant night temperatures below freezing, she wants to know how long can she keep them covered without damaging the bushes. One's a winter Daphne, and then there's a couple of azaleas. Well,
I don't know.
How old are they? Are they young?
Did you just plant them if they're like a year or two since planting? I guess.
If they're established, they should be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So if we're concerned about hindering their photosynthesis at this time of year, like, that's what would be the concern. Like, you don't have to worry about that right now because, as we've discussed at length, they're dormant right now. So you don't have to worry about making sure the leaves can get plenty of light. Obviously, you want to take that cover off as soon as you can. There's a lot of people say a lot of different things about the efficacy of covering bushes in that manner.
I've seen it effective in protecting flower buds that are about to come out.
Yeah,
especially
totally.
in the use of fruit production.
Yeah.
But other than that, I've never really seen a use for it. But I'm also not that experienced.
Yeah. I think it's like a follow your heart thing. If it means a lot to you, and it's not going to hurt it, is what I would say.
Right.
It will definitely give you probably a degree or two of protection.
Yeah.
It is if it's like a cotton or something, it's not going to give you if you're looking for cold protection, it's not going to give you any more than this is a purely something coming out of my butt.
Yeah.
But 5 degrees would be what I would
Sure.
throw
So
out there.
part of the reason an unheated greenhouse works so well is that because water, by virtue of the fact that it is liquid and water, there is heat in there. As soon as that water becomes solid, as soon as it becomes ice, that heat gets released. It has to go somewhere. It gets released. And so once it turns to ice, the heat is released. And if it's in the unheated greenhouse, then that heat stays contained within that unheated greenhouse. Now, if
There's
you've got
also
a plant
heat.
in the ground, it's not going to be like trapped by the blanket that you cover, and it's not like you've got a container full of water that's ready to release that heat. Like it's just kind of in there. It's not really
subject to the earth around it.
Yeah.
The ground is also warm.
The ground is also warm.
That's part of that's another piece to the greenhouse puzzle is that things really low will be warm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Than things up.
There's another piece to this puzzle for a whole separate thing of plants related to the ground is protecting those ground buds. Mm-hmm. Like for some hydrangeas, that are on the zone of hardiness. You can mulch up over them and then clear it out when spring comes.
Yeah, for
I don't
sure.
want to interrupt.
If you're concerned about precipitation, again, snow is insulating. Mm-hmm. So that's why they will. That's why they.
Sorry.
I was going to say that's why they will irrigate peach orchards to protect, because that little coating of ice, it freezes and it will protect those fruits.
Yes.
That's way more relevant.
It is. That's why
Yes. But the thing about that is that they're keeping the sprinklers running constantly.
Right.
They don't turn them off because again, that heat in that water as it freezes, that's what's keeping those buds warm, honestly. And if it freezes and then you're not putting extra water on there, then there's no extra warmth there. But if you keep irrigating it all through the night, even though it's below freezing, there's warmth in there that can keep them going.
That's how you get a good peach harvest.
That's how you get a good peach harvest. But like if we're talking about people in their own home garden, like you can't be doing that every time it gets below a certain temperature. Like if you've got a well-established shrub and it got to that point, it's lived its life thus far without you offering it any protection, then it's strong enough at this point.
Again, when I talk about hardiness too, like winter Daphne, I believe is hardy to 5.
Sure.
5 or 6.
Sure.
So like
they're
it's a winter Daphne.
It's a winter Daphne, definitely. Okay, so Barbara wants to know bulbs.
Sure.
If they look dead, is there a chance they aren't dead? And she's asking after they've been sitting in a bag in the garage for more than a season.
You can kind of tell.
You can kind of tell.
If you can punch your thumb through it when you squeeze it, it's dead. If there's no little growing tip on a lot of those bulbs that are supposed to have a growing tip.
Oh, it goes back. It's all about the buds. If it doesn't have a bud, it's gone. It's compost.
Yeah, that's for bulbs. But if there's something like the Syningia that isn't supposed to have a growing tip, but it's still firm, and it's been sitting in
I'll allow it.
like the right type of environment.
It still technically has buds, I think. It still has the ability.
Are you going to see them?
Right. No.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Fine. Okay, you win this one time.
Right. It does technically have buds.
It does technically.
All right, we will do one final question. Patricia says that she covered her camellia that is full of buds. Mm-hmm. And it gets down to the 20s where she is. She wants to know, will she still get blooms when it warms up?
Man, I'm not God, but probably.
Yeah, for sure. One thing you got to understand about winter blooming flowers generally is that they've evolved to bloom in the winter. There is a fair amount of cold resistance inherent to your camellia bud as it is. As it starts to open up, it loses that cold resistance. But if you got nice tight buds on your camellia flowers, covering them's not going to do anything at all, really. They've evolved to be able to withstand cold temperatures. So if it's starting to peak open, you may cover it and it may offer you a bit of extra protection and you may get more flowers in that respect. But there is, whether you cover a camellia or not this time of year, you can certainly expect it to bloom when it warms up because that's what they do. That's what they've been doing for millions of years. And it's a beautiful thing that we don't have to worry.
I brought this up, but I think we're out of time to talk about it. But I'll talk about it anyway.
Do it.
So you can see, like, this is a camellia that, again, I'm running low on heated space, so it is in an unheated house. But you can see the buds, all these big round buds are all flower buds, and you've got different stages. So like Blake was saying, if you might lose this one that's about to open, but this one that's not ready to open, might be okay. Should be okay.
It should be. It should be okay. And that's great. Patricia just let a comment that she's still learning Southern Gardens after moving here from Michigan. Like, it's a completely different beast. Like, we can get away with a lot of stuff down here in the South that you can't get away with in Michigan.
I think the biggest thing that I feel like people don't really that is, again, the Michigan thing of like, the ground doesn't freeze here.
Correct. Yeah.
Like, we can plant pretty much all year.
Basically all year.
Because the ground doesn't freeze. I don't understand how the ground freezes.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense because it doesn't freeze here. So like, if you've got a camellia in a pot, I'd be more concerned. But if it's in the ground, it's living its best life out there. Don't cover it up.
Definitely. I'll say there is one advantage to covering a plant up, and that's the peace of mind that it affords to the gardener.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If it makes you feel better,
absolutely,
it's not going to hurt it.
Absolutely.
And it like I said, it probably gives you, if it's fabric, it's probably a few degrees. It's not much, but that might be all you need. It's just a couple degrees so that this one that's about to open doesn't totally shrivel up.
However, as we've already mentioned, gardening in the South is a completely different beast, and you can get away with a lot of stuff down here. So maybe, just maybe, give not covering it a try to just see what happens, because you may be surprised at what it can take, even if it's not covered, even if it's getting snowed on and all kinds of cold, like it may still come back without you touching it at all. And wouldn't that be a wonderful thing if you didn't have to worry about those plants every single year, every single time it got cold? So just give it a try, just for your own edification, to see that, yes, they can make it through the cold even without hands-on fiddling.
And this is
with it.
Purely anecdotal, but I have 2 young children and don't often get my houseplants back inside before we get a below freezing night.
Sure.
And I've lost a few things, but up on my porch, right next to my front door, I'm surprised it wasn't stayed alive.
Honestly.
And gotten to, we've gotten down into the there's been nights when it's gotten down in the 30s, and I have not moved in things that aren't supposed to be, are supposed to be completely miserable in anything less than 55 degrees. And they're, maybe a little worse for wear, but plants are tough and they want to live is the big thing.
I will share one more positive ray of sunshine with everybody. So once upon a time, I have a bonsai tree crepe myrtle that I've been growing since I was an intern here. And there was one spring that it did not sprout. And I kept doing the scratch test. I scratched the bark. It was green every single time I tested it. I scratched it in April, still green, but nothing was flushing. Scratched it in May, still green, nothing was flushing. Scratched it in June, nothing was flushing, still green. In July, the 4th of July, scratched it, still green, nothing flushing. It actually flushed out on the 8th of July, which is absolutely bananas. I had stressed it out. I had repotted it the year before, so it was all kind of stressed, and it had needed to be repotted that year. So it was stressed from that. It didn't leaf out because of the stress. But like, honestly, you kept doing the scratch test. You kept holding out hope and believing. I wasn't fertilizing it. You can't fertilize a tree into growing. You can't force any plant into growing. You can simply wait and be patient, and you just never know what miracles will occur in your garden if you allow them to happen. So in the recording of this, I will put a picture of the budding out on the 8th of July after being dormant all winter long, using up all its stored carbohydrates throughout the springtime even. Like, plants are incredibly resilient, and if you don't witness these things happening, it's very hard to believe that they do happen. But if you allow them to happen in your garden, it can really take a lot off your mind when it comes to worrying about these kinds of things, to just see how resilient, how amazing they really are.
I mean, you can literally take a cutting and stick it in the ground and it grows. Like,
literally.
How does that work?
How does that work?
Plants know what they're doing.
Plants know what they're doing, and they want to survive.
They do.
And
so
last thing.
Yes.
Last thing.
You can't fertilize a plant into growing.
Yes.
When it's dormant, again, they don't need a lot. Don't overwater it. Don't over-fertilize it. They don't need that. If your best friend is taking a nap, do you A, splash water on his face, B, give him a protein shake, or C, let him take a nap. And I think it's C.
There it is.
Wait, did we say best friend?
Best friend.
Okay.
Well,
yeah,
best friend that you like, that you wouldn't mess with, that you wouldn't. I don't know why I'm prefacing.
We hear you, Evan. Wonderful. Okay. Well, awesome. Thank you, Evan and Sophia, for pulling together this presentation for us, showing us how to figure out if our plants are still alive, helping alleviate some of our anxieties in the garden while we're waiting for spring to indeed spring. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today on the Midweek program. Thank you for joining us live and giving us questions to discuss. We really appreciate your viewership. Thank you, everybody that joined us over YouTube and stayed until the end. We definitely appreciate that as well. If you haven't liked this video, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, and make sure you leave a comment down below, even if it's just a picture of a snowflake, a nice little snowflake emoji in preparation for the snow we got this weekend, or anticipating. All that stuff goes to support our channel, and it really helps a lot. So we will be back next Wednesday. We will be doing a program with Mark and Evan. They will be talking about Elysiums, the anise shrubs. So that should be a wonderful program. We will see you all next time. Y'all take care.